Hello there, welcome to Plus Talk on Plus Life. Today we're talking about HIV and self-isolation. And joining me to have this conversation is Dr. Marcus Tellez. He is a board-certified family medicine physician at Pacific Oaks Medical in Los Angeles. Good to see you, Doc.
Nice to see you. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thank you, and thanks for making the time. Look, I know you see people living with HIV every day there in your clinic. Why do you think loneliness hits so hard for those of us living with HIV?
Well, anecdotally, with my own experience with patients, as well as the medical literature, we see that patients and people living with HIV tend to struggle with loneliness due to stigma in society. I have a lot of patients who have gone through the HIV/AIDS epidemic throughout the 80s and the 90s, and they tell me firsthand the people that they've lost, the trauma that they've been through. And so, as we've developed newer medications that improve quality of life, we've not always done the best job in the healthcare field to address their mental health.
How can self-isolation impact the health of someone living with HIV?
Yeah, so people who tend to struggle with depression or anxiety related to self-isolation, they're less likely to make their regular medical appointments. They're more likely to neglect their own health and take less care of themselves. Studies in older men living with HIV, particularly, they see a lot of these narratives of people being lost to care due to their own self-isolation. And we need to make sure as clinicians that we screen people for their mental health, not just their physical health, and start that conversation so that they feel like they can be open with us.
So what kind of signs do you look for then as a doctor that when you're with your patients that might give you clues that this person is starting to withdraw or self-isolate?
Yeah, I mean, one of the earliest signs you can see is patients failing to make their appointments when they were regularly coming every 3 to 6 months with you, or trying to reach out to them and not answering phone calls. I've had patients in the past who unfortunately disappear for a year or two and come back because their health has declined so much. Um, and just having that relationship with them to reach out and show that you do care as their primary care physician or HIV specialist really does make a huge difference for them.
So when a patient comes back to you, let's say if they've sort of disappeared for that year, largely because of sort of isolating and feeling lonely, what are some of those first steps that you make as a doctor to help them and suggest to reconnect, I guess?
Yeah, I really believe in making the space welcoming for them because in my experience there's already such heavy shame that they've experienced for themselves, and it's intensified by embarrassment or continued shame of showing up after being gone for a year or two. And so I try to alleviate that. I smile, I give them a hug, I tell them how happy I am to see them back in the office. So that sense of shame and self-doubt sort of lessens in intensity for them. They don't feel guilt being in the doctor's office, which can already create its own anxieties and stigmas for oneself.
Yeah, and I guess by creating those environments, I mean, that helps with engagement and on ultimately, I guess, having someone, stay on treatment too, right?
Yeah, I think a lot of people worry that their doctor or their healthcare team is going to be mad at them or upset at them for having that gap of care. And in reality, I'm just so thrilled to see them back and that I can be part of their care to make sure that they stay healthy and have the quality of life that they deserve.
So what's it like for you then as a doctor when you see these people sort of coming back to life, I guess, or coming back to society once they've taken those baby steps? Because look, I've isolated. I know what this is like, and I guess from a gay man's perspective, living with HIV, we also have to deal with ageism too.
Absolutely. Um, yeah, creating a welcoming space and environment for them really alleviates some of that burden that they feel. And being able to offer them quality resources. I will have 15 to 30 minutes of my time dedicated to them, but after they leave the office, then what? So I make sure to provide them resources for mental health. One of the big resources that I utilize to find a therapist, uh, non-advertisement, but Psychology Today is a website online that you can look for LGBT therapists. You put in your zip code and you find therapists that are educated in HIV or have HIV themselves and are comfortable disclosing that. I find that it is something easy they can look for on their phone. It's an easily accessible website, and it takes away some of the fear that some patients have with finding a new therapist. You know, typically they're given a list of names, or their insurance company will give them a generic list of names. With that website, you know, they see a face, they can see the therapist's website, email, contact, so it makes it more of a personable experience in finding a therapist as opposed to just a generic list of names.
Listen, I'm all about giving a plug to a really good resource. So
Yeah,
psychologytoday.com, is that
psychology.
what you said?
Hmm.
Okay, well, we love that and we love them. A lot of people, I guess, turn to social media, whether it's for connection or for answers or for both. Does that really, can that really be helpful for someone living with HIV who's feeling isolated, or can it sometimes actually make it worse?
I think there's two sides of the coin with social media. You know, there are it's great to be able to see yourself reflected in other people who are proudly living their lives and excited to share their own personal experiences, so you can identify with that. But you know, on the flip side of any topic on social media, there's always going to be misinformation or negative aspects that can harm your mental health. So it's important to find a balance for yourself. Uh, Finding enough joy from it without letting it consume you and negatively impact your mental health more so.
Easier said than done, and whether you're living with HIV or not.
Yeah.
That is the trap of social media, I guess. I guess for someone who's watching this right now who is feeling completely alone, who's hearing this conversation going, yep, that's me, that's me, that's me, what do you want them to hear as a doctor to give them some encouragement or some inspiration?
I would hope that patients feel confident enough or feel secure enough to bring those topics up with their physician, and know that in reality, all we want is the best for the patient. It makes our lives better and it makes our jobs easier when you're happy and when you're doing well. So I know there is this idea of a typical doctor who's stern and not emotional in any capacity, but many physicians really do want what's best for our patients. And bringing it up again, sometimes we're so focused in on the medical and physical aspects of what we have to address with the patient, and it's important that both the patient and the physician open up the conversation about mental health and various mental health resources. In my clinic, we have a collaboration with a local HIV support group called Being Alive. It's a nonprofit organization, free membership for patients and people living with HIV. So they have support groups, they have mental health services. Uh, Group activities. I have a lot of older men living with HIV who feel very isolated because they don't know how to reach out or how to connect to other people. And sometimes all you have to do is ask or look online, and there are lots of support groups that can bring you that sense of community that you may have been missing out on.
Well, Dr. Marcus Tellez, thank you so much for this insightful chat and for sharing some really good resources. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Hey, that's going to do it for this episode of Plus Talk. What did you think? Leave a comment below because we like to read them. And remember, you can like, follow, and share. We're across all your favorite social platforms at Plus Life Media. If you want to see this conversation, head over to our YouTube page, Plus Life Official, and our website is pluslifemedia.com. You can find everything there. Until next time, be nice to one another. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.